Jeffrey Epstein. Well, what story that was, eh? I mean, now it's been taken over by, the Iran war is now the story du jour. But yeah, before that it was the Epstein files. That's all gone quiet, isn't it? And I know what a lot of you are saying. Oh, well, that's engineered. Because Donald Trump invaded Iran to cover up the Epstein files. I don't think that's the case. Even up until this, Trump was looking pretty self-assured, like it was a trifling matter, like he didn't have anything to worry about. And plus, the timing's a little off, because it took several weeks for this Epstein files thing going on before he invaded Iran. But why he invaded Iran is probably another matter. But anyway, yeah, Epstein. So what was going on there? Well, obviously he was a paedophile, we know that. But how did he and why did he get all these, powerful and, wealthy people on side? Well, he had already had a knack of amassing some money. Jeffrey Epstein is Jewish. It is quite a Jewish thing, amassing money. I haven't got a problem with that. But the point is he already had some money, and I think it was from some business deals he'd done in the past. It's all a bit vague. So he's already coming into this with a lot of money, and that's how he was able to be what they've been calling him, as well as being a paedophile, a financier. So he has all this money, and then he presumably, I think, lent money to his mates, his rich and powerful mates, for business deals, or capital for whatever, in order so that they could be more rich and powerful. So it was a handy friend to have. But also, I think it went beyond that, because there were so many people fawning over him. I mean, Peter Mandelson, for example, called him, "Oh, you're my best friend. Oh, I love you so much." I mean, it's true, he was very close to a lot of people, so it weren't just about what he could do for them. I think he genuinely had this charisma, and that enabled him to make friends with these rich and powerful people. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it was probably also that charisma that made him able to seduce inappropriate women. Anyway, so you've got that set in the background, but also it was, I don't think it was any accident that photos were taken at those parties, because then if Oak was wrong, he's got evidence of stuff that might have occurred. And I don't believe that it was for blackmail purposes, because he had plenty of money to begin with. I think what it was to do was to cover his own back, if anything, from a legal perspective. Because there's history rhymes, doesn't it? So there's a lot of similarities here between this and the Jimmy Savile situation. Jimmy Savile, conveniently, was best mates with a lot of politicians. Margaret Thatcher loved him. A lot of important people and celebrities he sucked up to and he made friends with, precisely so he could indemnify himself if the proverbial hit the fan. I'm trying not to swear here, so it doesn't affect what pitiful views I get already on my videos. But it was a similar kind of thing. So if ever he got caught out, he could say, "Well, Peter, there's a photograph of you and me here at this party with it won't be an underage girl in Peter Mandelson's case, underage boy maybe, but here's a photograph of you and this 16-year-old boy." Yeah, and fair enough, you might not have been doing anything at the time, you might have just got your arm around each other, but perception is reality, right? So what are you going to do for me? How am I going to get out of this hole? And there's an interesting email that was uncovered by Sky News, where I think Peter Mandelson, maybe he was busy or something, but it was kind of like Jeffrey Epstein felt that Peter Mandelson wasn't giving him enough kind of like, you know, assistance or support, and it was clear that there was some kind of, the relationship was a quid pro quo thing, where Jeffrey Epstein did things for, I don't know, favours, lent him money, whatever, for Peter Mandelson, and he expected certain favours in return, because he sent this Peter Mandelson this stroppy email saying, you know, where's the love? You know, I've done all this for you, and all these things, and what are you doing for me? So it shows that he had that kind of attitude of, look, you know, I'm doing this, all this help for you as an investment here, because, you know, he was obviously he was shrewd when it came to money, like the Jewish people are. So then that kind of sets a picture then, because I do believe that, as indeed, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell is his partner, probably the closest person to him, and also his own lawyer, who'd known him for years, both said they did not believe he committed suicide in prison. I don't believe he did either. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, to be perfectly honest, but on this one, I think there's something in it, because I can imagine what happened was, when he got arrested for all these, you know, sex crimes, first thing he did was get on the phone to whoever he thought were the most influential people in his life and said, look, what can you do for me? And they said, well, you know, they were kind of like getting a bit uneasy at this point, because they're thinking, well, you know, I don't want any of this blowing back on me. I don't want any connection to me. So at least one of them has distanced themselves from him. I suspect more than one. And then, out of desperation, he's then shot himself in the foot and said, well, you know, I've got these photographs of you and this 16-year-old, 17-year-old, whatever, you know what I can do, what I'm capable of. And he said that to the wrong person. And then next thing you know, some, you know, prison guards getting paid a small fortune to off him. That's my theory. But yeah, bottom line is, I think he did have a genuine charisma, this bloke. But you know, a lot of people have probably been nervous about what's been, you know, about the journalists going through all these files. But so far, nothing too incriminating, it would seem. But well, let's see.